to hear. We're going to talk about thesis today. When many students think about thesis, they think about declarative thesis. And declarative thesis is when there is a main sentence, usually in your introduction, that does just that. It declares, it clearly explains what the main idea of your essay is going to be about. And this is the type of thesis that's expected of you in many forms of academic writing. Your professors will want you, if you're doing business writing or argumentative persuasive writing, research papers, they'll want to see that declarative thesis in the beginning. So go over the thesis handouts I provided for you this week and also examine the handout called Weak Thesis Statements, because this handout goes over some problems people have writing thesis and gives you some strategies as to how to solve those problems. However, today what I want to talk to you about is a different form of thesis, implied thesis. Some people haven't heard that term before, but implied thesis is, in a way, the opposite of a declarative thesis. It's still a thesis. However, it is not a thesis that is explicitly stated in the beginning of a piece. So think about stories you've read or books. You know, most of the time in the first paragraph or so, it doesn't say, this story is going to be about such and such. Instead, you read the story, and as you go through, you discover the main idea. Now, some people think if that thesis isn't clearly stated in the beginning or somewhere along there, that the writer's not using a thesis. However, that's never the case. Good writers always, always, always use thesis. They have some main driving idea behind what they're writing, and they make sure that every sentence, every paragraph contributes to that main idea. So when you're reading through a good story by a good author and you get to the end of it and you just know exactly what that author had to say, what his one important message was, even though he never explicitly stated it, you know that's a good writer. So what I want you to start thinking about as we start reading some short stories and different texts this semester is, what is the thesis of each story that you read? It's not going to be easily laid out for you in the first paragraph. It's not going to say this is what the story is about. So I want you to think as you get to the end of it, what was the main idea behind it? A lot of people don't automatically do that. You know, we don't sit and part out writing, analyze, or think about how the author is doing what she or he is doing. But that's what I want you to do. I want you to start thinking about writing that way. How is it working? You'll start to do it automatically whenever you read. Once you start this process, you'll start thinking about what was the main idea. And I also want you to start doing that in your own writing. So a lot of times you sit down, you brainstorm, you write a rough draft, and you have all these great ideas for your story or for your essay. But as you go through and reread it, you realize that in many places you're straying from that main idea. You're digressing into all these other avenues of thought. And that's a challenge of, you know, recognizing the strength and main idea of your writing, is focusing like, what is that main idea? What is my thesis? And then going through, building on that, and eliminating the rest, not being so attached to all your writing that you have to save all of it. You only want to keep what relates to that main idea. So you don't always get a chance to use implied thesis in your college career because so many papers do require a more straightforward type of thesis. But when you do get the chance to use it, when it works in a story, it's fun. It's a challenging way to write and to think about how you can get your one main important message across to your readers without just blatantly telling them, by weaving a story and weaving that thesis through the story so that readers know exactly what you're talking about and they have that connection when they come to the end. So that's the beauty of thesis. Start thinking about what it means. Examine how other authors use it well, and then think about the ways in which you use it and the ways that you can use it better. So I'm looking forward to seeing your comments about thesis on this week's discussion board. And I think that's it for now. I will see you soon. Thanks.